Chosen one, stop scrolling. This is not motivation. This is confirmation. If your spirit felt a sudden shift lately, if your energy changed overnight, if people started reacting to you differently without explanation, it's because God just upgraded your spiritual rank. And not everyone around you was meant to understand that. The moment the rank changed, something unseen moved. No announcement, no applause. But deep in the spiritual realm, a decision was made about you. You didn't apply for it, you didn't ask for it. Yet heaven adjusted your position because you were ready. After this shift, confusion followed. Sleep patterns changed. Old desires fell off. You started feeling distant from places and people you once loved. That's not loss, that's separation for elevation. If this resonates, stay with me and tap like quietly. This message travels further when the chosen acknowledge it. What a spiritual rank really means. Spiritual rank isn't about ego. It's about responsibility. The higher the rank, the heavier the assignment. The deeper the isolation, the greater the authority. When God elevates you spiritually, He also restricts you. Certain doors close. Certain friendships fade. Certain environments become uncomfortable. Because what used to feed you can no longer contain you. That discomfort you feel isn't punishment. It's preparation. Why you felt it before anyone else. Chosen ones always feel shifts early. You sense energy before it manifests. You feel endings before they happen. You feel calling before clarity arrives. That's why people say, you've changed. But they can't explain how. Your presence became heavier. Your words started landing deeper. Your silence began speaking louder than noise. That's the mark of a rank change. The SIGNS society tries to silence. Society fears what it can't control. And chosen energy cannot be controlled. So they label you. They mock you. They try to shrink you back into who you used to be. You were told to be realistic. To calm down. To stop thinking so deeply. But deep thinkers shift worlds. And awakened spirits disturb comfort zones. If you've been misunderstood lately, comment, I felt this. You're not alone. Why the pressure increased after the shift? After elevation comes resistance. Not because you're weak, but because the enemy noticed the promotion. Sudden obstacles. Unexplainable delays. Emotional weight without visible reason. This happens when your impact increases. The pressure isn't meant to crush you. It's meant to forge you. Diamonds are not formed in comfort. The loneliness of a higher calling. Higher rank means fewer companions. Not everyone can walk at your pace anymore. Not everyone can access your frequency. You may sit in rooms full of people and still feel alone. That's not emptiness. That's alignment pulling you inward. God often isolates before He activates. The power you didn't realize you carry. Your words now heal or trigger. Your presence now exposes truth. Your silence now unsettles darkness. That's why some people feel uncomfortable around you. Not because you did something wrong, but because your light highlights what they hide. Never dim that. What God expects from you now. More discipline. More awareness. More integrity. The old shortcuts no longer work. The old habits feel wrong. Because you're being trained for leadership in the unseen. This is not a phase. This is assignment. A message for the one doubting themselves. If you're questioning whether this is real, that's confirmation. Chosen ones always doubt themselves before stepping fully into power. But hear this clearly. You wouldn't be feeling this pull if you weren't selected. You wouldn't be watching this if your rank stayed the same. Subscribe to Chosen Wave if your spirit keeps finding this channel without trying. This is your reminder. Stand taller. Speak cleaner. Move intentionally. Your spiritual rank changed because God trusts you with more. Not everyone gets that call. If this message spoke to you, like the video so others can find it. Comment this, "I accept the upgrade." And ask yourself, are you ready to live like the rank you were given? The energy shift people can't explain. After the rank change, your energy stopped blending in. You don't try to stand out, yet you do. Rooms feel different when you enter. Conversations pause. Eyes linger a second longer. People sense something moved in you. They may not have the words, but they feel the authority. Not loud authority, quiet dominance. The kind that doesn't beg for attention. The kind that commands respect without effort. That's why reactions around you intensified. Love became deeper. Hate became louder. Indifference disappeared completely. Why old paths suddenly collapsed. Notice how certain plans failed without warning. Opportunities vanished last minute. Routes you depended on shut down. That wasn't bad luck. That was divine rerouting. God doesn't elevate using old roads. He destroys shortcuts to force alignment. What felt like loss was protection. What felt like delay was precision. You weren't being denied, you were being redirected. The internal war you didn't expect. Rank change creates inner conflict first. Your mind tries to cling to familiarity. Your spirit pushes toward destiny. This tension feels exhausting. Some days you want to retreat. Other days you feel unstoppable. That's the merging phase, where human limitations collide with divine assignment. Don't judge yourself during this stage. Transformation is not gentle. It's disruptive by design. Why you started seeing through illusions. You can't unsee truth once awakened. That's why fake smiles stand out now. Manipulation feels heavy. Surface-level conversations drain you. Your discernment sharpened. You notice intentions before words. Energy before actions. Silence before betrayal. This clarity is part of the upgrade. Chosen ones don't live in illusion. They expose it simply by existing. The distance from family and friends. This hurts the most. People who love the old version of you struggle with the awakened one. You didn't become cold. You became selective. You didn't abandon them. You outgrew the dynamic. Growth doesn't require permission. And calling doesn't wait for approval. Some bonds were seasonal, not eternal. The responsibility of being seen. You can't move carelessly anymore. Your actions echo. Your words linger. Your choices influence others. Even when you try to stay quiet. People watch how you move, how you react, how you handle pressure. That's leadership without a title. Influence without intention. This is why discipline matters now more than ever. The attacks that come without warning. Spiritual promotion triggers spiritual resistance. Mood swings without reason. Sudden fatigue. Mental fog. These aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of threat. Darkness reacts when light increases. Rest when needed. Withdraw when required. But never doubt your position. The call to walk alone without fear. Not everyone can follow where you're going. And that's okay. Solitude is not abandonment. It's training. God speaks clearest in isolation. Purpose sharpens in silence. Strength forms when applause is absent. If you're walking alone right now, you're closer than you think. The shift from seeking to knowing. You stopped asking for signs. You started trusting inner confirmation. Faith matured into certainty. You don't chase validation anymore. You don't explain yourself as much. You move when aligned, not when convinced. That's mastery over self. That's spiritual adulthood. What happens next after the upgrade? New doors will open quietly, without noise, without announcement. Opportunities will find you. People will seek your insight. Your name will surface in rooms you've never entered. But the greatest reward won't be external. It will be inner peace, unshakable clarity, unbreakable identity. The death of the old identity. At some point, the old you stops responding. Triggers lose their power. Arguments feel pointless. Reactions fade into observation. This feels strange at first, almost like losing a part of yourself. But you didn't lose anything. You shed what couldn't ascend. The ego resists this stage. It wants familiarity. But the spirit demands truth. And truth requires release. Why silence became your language. You speak less now. Not because you have nothing to say, but because words feel sacred. You've learned that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not every battle needs your voice. Silence became strategy. Observation became power. People mistake your quiet for weakness. They don't realize silence is where your authority sharpened. The strange peace during chaos. Even when things feel uncertain. There's a calm underneath it all. Bills, delays, questions. Yet panic no longer controls you. That's not denial. That's trust replacing fear. Peace is proof of alignment. An unexplainable calm only comes when your spirit knows it's protected. Why time feels different now. Days move faster. Moments feel heavier. You feel urgency without anxiety. This happens when purpose activates. Wasted time becomes unbearable. Distractions lose appeal. Your soul knows it's on a schedule. You're not late. You're not early. You're precisely on time. The magnetism you ask for. People open up to you randomly. Strangers tell you their stories. Pain recognizes safety. This isn't coincidence. Healers attract wounds. Leaders attract seekers. Light attracts shadows seeking direction. Be mindful with your energy. Not every confession is your assignment. Discernment protects the chosen. The test of humility after promotion. Spiritual rank tests character first. Power without humility corrupts. Authority without compassion destroys. That's why you're being watched internally. How you treat people who can't help you. How you act when no one sees. How you respond when provoked. Your crown stays light only if your heart stays clean. The moment you stop chasing, you no longer chase people. You no longer beg for clarity. You no longer force alignment. What's meant for you approaches. What isn't falls away naturally. This is divine attraction, not desperation. You learn that peace is worth more than proximity. The confusion others feel around you. Some people feel inspired by you. Others feel threatened. Both reactions come from the same source. Your authenticity. You mirror truth without trying. And truth unsettles those living in masks. That's why explanations fail. You can't explain energy. You can only embody it. The weight of knowing too much. Awakening brings awareness. Awareness brings responsibility. Ignorance is no longer available to you. You see systems, patterns, cycles repeating through people and situations. This knowledge can feel heavy. That's why grounding is essential. Chosen ones must learn to rest the mind, to protect the spirit. The fear right before expansion. If fear suddenly resurfaced, pay attention. Fear often appears before breakthrough. Doubt rises when destiny approaches. The mind panics when the soul is ready. Don't retreat now. This discomfort means you're standing at the edge of something irreversible. The moment you realized you can't go back, there comes a quiet knowing. No drama, no announcement. Just a deep inner truth that says, there is no return to who you were. Old habits feel foreign. Old conversations feel empty. Old environments feel heavy. You don't judge them. You simply no longer fit. Growth doesn't ask for permission. It moves forward, even when the heart feels torn. Why your desires changed overnight. What once excited you now feels shallow. Noise lost its appeal. Attention feels draining. Depth became non-negotiable. This is not boredom. It's refinement. Your spirit now craves substance, not stimulation. Chosen ones mature quickly after rank change. Because purpose requires clarity, not distraction. The invisible line you started to see. You now sense boundaries before they're crossed. You feel when something is off. When energy shifts. When intentions turn. This awareness isn't paranoia. It's discernment activating fully. You're no longer guessing. You're reading the room spiritually. That's why certain people can't get close anymore. Not because they're bad, but because they're misaligned. The grief no one talks about. Elevation comes with mourning. Mourning versions of yourself. Mourning futures you imagined. Mourning people you hoped would come with you. You smile through it, but inside you release. This grief is holy. It honors what was, while making space for what must be. Why you feel called to protect your energy. You can't pour into everything anymore. Burnout shows up faster. Your body reacts to misalignment instantly. This is your soul enforcing boundaries. Your mind ignored for years. Rest is no longer laziness. Solitude is no longer avoidance. They are survival tools for the chosen. The strange confidence with no ego. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to explain your vision. You don't need to convince anyone. There's a quiet certainty now. Not arrogance, alignment. Not pride, grounding. Confidence rooted in truth doesn't shout. It stands. Why some people started competing with you. Without you changing behavior. Competition appeared. Your presence triggered comparison. Your growth exposed stagnation. Your peace irritated chaos. This isn't your fault. Light naturally reveals contrast. Stay focused. You're not in a race, you're on assignment. The moment discipline became natural. What once required effort now feels automatic. You wake earlier. You choose better. You pause before reacting. Discipline isn't forced anymore. It flows from respect for your calling. When purpose activates, self-control follows. The inner voice that grew louder. Your intuition no longer whispers. It speaks clearly, firmly, without apology. You know when to move, when to wait, when to let go. This voice is not fear. It's guidance refined through experience. Trust it, it was sharpened for this level. The feeling that something big is close. There's anticipation in the air. Not excitement, readiness. Not impatience, alignment. You don't know what's coming, but you know it's significant. This is the stillness before activation. The pause before movement. The breath before destiny steps forward. The weight of being misunderstood. At this level, misunderstanding becomes constant. Not because you communicate poorly, but because people hear from their wounds, not their awareness. Your intentions get questioned. Your distance gets misread as arrogance. Your silence gets called coldness. You learn to let them think what they want. Clarifying everything drains energy. Truth doesn't need defense. It reveals itself with time. Why emotional attachment started falling away. You noticed you don't cling anymore. You don't chase emotional reassurance. You don't fear being alone. Attachment loosens when identity solidifies. You no longer need others to confirm who you are. Connection becomes choice, not necessity. This is freedom most people never experience. The shift from reaction to observation. Situations arise that once would have triggered you. Now you pause. You watch. You respond only if necessary. This isn't suppression. It's mastery. Emotional control is a sign of spiritual authority. Those who control themselves can't be controlled by circumstances. The tests that look like temptations. After promotion, tests become subtle. Distractions disguised as opportunities. Validation masked as attention. Shortcuts wrapped in comfort. Not everything that feels good is aligned. Not every open door is yours. Discernment protects what elevation exposes. Why your heart feels both open and guarded. You still love deeply. You still feel intensely. But you no longer bleed everywhere. Compassion remains. Naivety leaves. This balance is sacred. An open heart with a guarded gate is the mark of a matured soul. The moment you stop seeking permission, you don't wait for approval anymore. You don't need consensus to move. You listen inward first, then upward, then forward. Authority begins the moment. You trust the voice that carried you this far. The pattern you started noticing in people. People either rise around you or reveal their resistance. Some get inspired and elevate. Others get uncomfortable and withdraw. Both outcomes are alignment. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be accurate. The quiet detachment from outcomes. You do the work. You stay disciplined. You show up aligned. But you've released obsession with results. You trust timing now. Detachment isn't apathy. It's faith in motion. Why rest became an non-negotiable. Your body speaks faster than your mind now. Fatigue hits harder when you ignore intuition. Peace returns quickly when you honor it. Rest isn't optional at this level. Burnout dims discernment. Chosen ones must protect clarity. The way others protect comfort. The knowing that you're being prepared. You feel it in moments of stillness. Something is aligning behind the scenes. Details are being arranged without your effort. You're not idle. You're being positioned. Preparation feels slow. Until activation makes it all make sense. The strange distance from drama. You no longer feel pulled into chaos. Arguments feel loud and unnecessary. Gossip feels heavy the moment it starts. It's not that you're above people. You're beyond dysfunction. Peace has become your baseline. Chosen ones don't avoid conflict out of fear. They avoid it because clarity is too valuable to waste. Why your presence changed the dynamic. When you enter certain spaces, energy shifts instantly. People either calm down or become defensive. Your grounded presence disrupts imbalance. This isn't intentional. It's alignment. Truth rearranges rooms without speaking. The loss of urgency about proving yourself. You no longer rush to be understood. Time reveals more than explanations ever could. You let consistency speak. You let character unfold naturally. Those meant to see you will. Those who don't were never the audience. The awakening of inner authority. You stopped outsourcing decisions. You trust your internal compass. Advice is filtered now. Opinions are weighed, not absorbed. Authority begins when you stop asking who you're allowed to be. Why you feel called to build, not consume. Mindless consumption lost appeal. You want to create, to contribute, to leave something behind. This urge isn't ambition. It's assignment activating. Chosen ones don't exist to blend in. They exist to build what didn't exist before. The realization that everything is connected. Patterns repeat across situations. Lessons show up in different faces. You stopped blaming people. You started reading themes. Life became a conversation, not a battle. Awareness turned confusion into instruction. The shift from survival to alignment. You're no longer just trying to make it through. You're choosing how to move through. Fear-based decisions feel wrong now. You wait for inner peace before action. Alignment replaces desperation. When purpose becomes clear. Why you attract both help and resistance. Some doors open effortlessly. Others slam unexpectedly. Support appears when needed. Opposition appears when growth accelerates. Both are signs of movement. Stagnation attracts nothing. Motion reveals who and what aligns. The moment you realized you're not behind, comparison lost its grip. You stopped measuring yourself against timelines that weren't built for your assignment. Your path isn't delayed. It's customized. Chosen ones don't follow schedules. They follow timing. The quiet faith that replaced panic. Even without answers. You trust the process. Not blind faith. Earned faith. You've seen too much alignment to believe you're walking alone. The awareness that words create reality. You started choosing words carefully. Not out of fear, out of understanding. You feel the weight behind what you speak. Complaints drain you faster now. Negativity feels loud. Truth feels clean. You realized language is energy. And at this rank, energy responds quickly. Why certain doors closed without explanation. No warning. No conversation. Just endings. You replayed them in your mind, searching for closure. But closure was the closure. Some exits are divine protection, not rejection. God closed what would have delayed your assignment. The moment your standards became non-negotiable. You stopped negotiating with misalignment. You stopped tolerating inconsistency. What once felt too much now feels necessary. High standards aren't arrogance. They're respect for the calling you carry. The strange pull towards solitude. Solitude doesn't feel lonely anymore. It feels instructional. In quiet moments, insight downloads. Clarity forms. Vision sharpens. Crowds dilute focus at this level. Isolation concentrates power. Why you feel disconnected from small talk. Surface-level conversation drains you. Not because you're better, but because you're deeper. You crave meaning, truth, substance. Depth is lonely until you find those aligned to meet you there. The discipline of walking away. You walk away without drama now. No speeches. No explanations. Peace matters more than being right. Distance matters more than winning. Walking away is no longer avoidance. It's wisdom. The realization that you were never random. Looking back, nothing was accidental. The pain, the delays, the isolation, every experience trained you for the authority you carry now. Your story wasn't chaotic. It was curated. Why your intuition interrupts logic. Logic asks for proof. Intuition offers direction. You've learned when to listen to which. You don't dismiss logic. You don't let it override alignment. At this level, intuition leads. And logic supports. The feeling that you're being watched. Not by people. By purpose. Moments feel observed. Decisions feel significant. This isn't paranoia. It's accountability activating. When rank increases, so does awareness. The quiet knowing that change is imminent. There's a stillness before movement. A calm before execution. You don't rush it. You respect it. Something is aligning beyond visibility. And when it moves, it will move fast. Chosen one, this is your moment. If your spirit felt even one line of this message, do not scroll in silence. Claim your upgrade. Tap the like button now, not for the algorithm, but as a signal that you accept this higher calling. Comment, I accept my new rank, and let your words activate what God already shifted in you. Subscribe to Chosen Wave if your soul keeps finding this channel without effort. That is not coincidence. And answer this honestly in the comments. Are you ready to live like the level God just placed you on, even if it costs you comfort, familiarity, and approval?